This week on the Chef's Cut, we are talking about the best cut of steak.
You take me to Peter Luger's for lunch, I'm going porterhouse all day, every day.
Fork it or forget it. Goldfish cracker Rice Krispie treats. I actually made them. What chefs look for when sourcing ingredients.
𝗳𝗵𝗲𝗄 always has that thing of like, everything's farm to table. All food's grown on a farm.
Right. What type of farm. And a walk-in confession that nearly cost me my job at 𝗬𝗏𝗵𝗏. I paid everybody straight cash. Full-length video of the Chef's Cut is now available on YouTube and Spotify, so be sure to hit subscribe right now so you don't miss an episode. So Joe, I was at Carbone recently for an influencer event, and it really got me thinking about our conversation about steakhouses. And I don't think we ever revisited the results of the poll. And to my surprise, as much as I thought porterhouse would be a favorite because you get a little bit of each cut, you get the filet, you get the strip. No. You know what the winner was?
I have a good idea.
It was your ribeye.
I knew
100%.
it. You know, I will say though, when I do come to New York, you take me to Peter Luger's for lunch, I'm going porterhouse all day, every day. Porterhouse, the burger at Luger for lunch.
Ooh.
Oh.
And a baked potato, just saying.
I'm not getting a baked potato. All right, I'm going to tell you what an old man you are with this baked potato. I got a lot of comments on how you were. I went to watch a Bears game at a bar in Florida one time, and I was by myself, and this old guy walked in who had to be 70 years old that they knew, like walked in and was like, "Oh, hey, sweethearts, like how we do it." And when he sat down, he had like 2 beers, and then the one lady goes up, she's like, "Bob, are you ready? Are you ready for your potato yet?" And he was like, "No, not yet. Not yet, honey." Had like 2 more beers, and he's like, "I'm ready now." And then they brought him out a baked potato, and this dude just ate a baked potato while he had like 7 beers watching the game. And it was like the ultimate old man move. And that's you.
I want to be like him when I grow up.
That's going to be you in Florida, just having a baked potato and 9 Miller Lights watching the Bears.
That actually sounds like a perfect Sunday. Can I just say that man is like my idol?
He was living life.
He was living his best life, I might say. Well, Joe, we've been talking about our favorites, our go-tos when it comes to certain things that city to city, you know, you can get at this certain type of restaurant. And I grew up across the street from an ice cream shop. It was the Baskin-Robbins in Hyde Park that actually Barack Obama and Michelle went on their first date to. Everybody knew me. I would go in like twice a day. So I have just built into my life ice cream. I am an ice cream fiend and have been since I was a kid. But what is your go-to ice cream?
Yeah, so I'm an ice cream nut too. I love gelato. We serve it at all the restaurants, obviously. It's like I probably eat it almost every day. Like I go in and I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna taste it today." My favorite flavor though, by far, and it's a polarizing flavor. I'm going to say this right now because it is one of those ones that is love it or hate it. And I love it. Mint chocolate chip. Bright green. The chips in there, the real like stracciatella chips. Like, that to me is as good as it gets. A good mint chocolate chip, I think, is pretty close to heaven right there, Age. And I know it's an unpopular one.
It is very polarizing.
The people who love it, love it.
Love it.
But like Shamrock's shake season is seasonal for a reason. You know what I mean? You can't have it all the time.
Right.
But I'm about it. The mint chocolate chip, I think, is the best.
That is actually my mom's favorite. She would eat that. She wouldn't deviate. She would maybe have a bite to try another flavor here and there. But she's like, nope. 1 or maybe 2 scoops of mint chocolate chip. That was her jam. But I didn't like it growing up. I've grown to like it now. But I don't like to chew things in my ice cream. I love texture. I hate that. Like I like texture, but not like my teeth were always sensitive. So I don't like to have to bite down on something to chew it in ice cream. That's where I draw the line. And so my favorite flavor growing up to this day, hands down, and it's specific to Baskin-Robbins, I have to say, gold medal ribbon. It is a Baskin-Robbins.
Is that the chocolate caramel one?
It's vanilla and chocolate, and it has a soft caramel ribbon. So no matter how cold the ice cream is, the caramel is like, it's like luscious, and you just feel it like coat your palate, and then, it's just like, Oh, it's like liquid gold in the center of this ice cream. So it's like you get the best of all worlds.
Listen, I'm with that. I love chocolate and caramel in my ice cream. You know what I mean? But I do love the texture. I love when they do it with it's like the chunks of chocolate in there, or like
instead of the
like
thin
moose
shard.
tracks where they put the tiny little like peanut butter cups in there. Oh,
yeah.
Forget.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I also like lemon sorbet is like another go-to of mine. Like there's something about like crisp, cooling sorbets that, oh man, especially in the summer.
Yeah. Oh no, we do like a melon sorbet over the summer, and it is like, I mean, it's like jumping into cold water. It feels so good.
Right? Oh, that's so nice. It's great to like get to know these things about you, Joe. So if we ever go out to ice cream and you're running late, I can place your order for you.
Yeah, get the mint chocolate chip. I'll be there.
Yes. Joe, why don't we take it into Fork It or Forget It?
What do you got for me today, Age?
So now that I am back from the road, I'm at home, I have my kitchen, I have my cooking utensils and everything. I thought it would be fun to do a Fork It or Forget It in the style of show and tell.
I love this.
Okay, so have you seen, there is this thing that I'm really not excited to try this, but this woman is making Rice Krispie treats with goldfish crackers.
I have seen this. I have.
Yes.
And I'm interested, is what I will say. Because here's the thing. I grew up in a Rice Krispie treats household. My mom is well known for her Rice Krispie treats. Aww. You know, when I go visit a cousin in college or something, she would make Rice Krispie treats and, you know, shove them in a giant gallon Ziploc bag and like send them down, you know. And so I have not tried them, but I've seen them. But this is my weird thing about it.
What?
When I saw it, at least, I don't know where you saw it. The woman was using them for a charcuterie board, I believe.
Yes, right? I don't know how I feel about that on a charcuterie board. And her logic was that it's like eating cheddar with like a dried fig with honey. I don't eat cheddar with honey. Like I put honey or something sweet on like a creamy, I don't know, or like a blue cheese, but I was just like, I don't know, but I'm curious since I'm at home.
Did you make some?
Are you ready, Joe?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay. Goldfish cracker Rice Krispie treats. I actually made them. It's essentially the recipe is 2 bags of goldfish crackers.
Yeah.
A whole bag of marshmallows and a stick of butter.
Butter or margarine?
Oh, butter. I mean, because I have to have something that's not processed.
Right. But I think like traditionally, I'm not trying to be an 𝗀𝗵𝗲 buff or here or anything, but I believe in Robuchon's book, he makes it with margarine. I could be wrong.
I don't know. I feel like in the 𝗀𝗵𝗲 book, it called for pure butter, but I could be wrong.
It might have, but that might have been before the invention of margarine. All right. Are you taking this? Have you tried them yet? Or is this your first?
Not.
What do you think? Texturally, it's got to be good. It's got to be similar to a Rice Krispie treat. But I mean, the Rice Krispies really nail it. Even when you have like the golden graham ones, you know what I mean? People make sometimes, or I've seen them with Cocoa Puffs. The texture is not quite right. It's just a little bit different. It's a little bit off. It's not as good as the Rice Krispies because I feel like the Rice Krispies, where the other stuff, when you put the heat to it of the marshmallows and the butter, they get a little bit soft and they almost get like kind of a stale quality to it, where the Rice Krispie treats almost get like crunchier. They get like supple and crunchy, and they have that chew to them that's really great. And I don't think anything else mimics that. So I'm curious, like my number one question would be, how do the goldfish hold up? I mean, you went back in for more.
Can you hear? It's research. I have to go.
You went back in for another bite, so.
It's not disgusting. I don't know if I hadn't made such a big batch of them. I'm all in now. I mean, I've committed. I made a whole batch in a 8x8 pan.
Yeah, but
I can't throw them away. I can't throw food away. It's like against my DNA. But I can't. I have to say, like, it's weird because it starts off with marshmallow, and you're like, oh, this is familiar, and you get the texture, the crunch, because the goldfish are staying very crispy. There's no liquid in it to make them soggy. It's all fat and sugar. So once that coats the Rice Krispie treats or the goldfish crackers, it like seals in that crispness. It's kind of like if you put egg wash on a tart shell after you bake it before you put the filling in, and it just seals it so it stays crispy. Same principle here. You're locking out the moisture. So they're staying super crispy. But once that cheddar flavor starts to break through the marshmallow, it's just kind of like weird.
Cheddar is a generous descriptor for that flavor as well. Not to dog the great people at Pepperidge Farm. I love a goldfish cracker. But like cheddar and that flavor are like...
Yeah, it's like cheddar and marshmallow. I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting concept. I would try it with something else, not with goldfish crackers, but it's an interesting concept, but I'm gonna have to forget this one.
Yeah. Maybe Steven will like him.
No, he won't. I can tell you that he will absolutely not.
You know, we were talking a little bit about getting into line check today, and we were kind of going back to, we had that awesome conversation with Dan Barber, right?
Yes.
And it was incredible. Just the depth of, you know, getting into farm to table and a lot of those things. And I feel like I've seen so many things lately talking about farm to table and just different validity of it. Like Tom Colicchio always has that thing of like everything, you know, everything's farm to table. All food's grown on a farm.
Right.
What that farm is.
Right.
You know what I mean? Is another question, but it
Exactly.
has to come, you know, from a farm to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought Dan, you know, just raised a lot of interesting things with it. For you, you talk about going to farmers markets all the time, right? And for your client and for the dinners you do and for the travel you do. And I think like, you know, for the most part, like I feel like in private chefing, you're cooking for a smaller amount of people, right? So you can really be like, as you know, if there's 6 great tomatoes, you can get 6 great tomatoes.
Exactly.
Whereas, you know, like in my world, it's like, you know, like a Rosemary where you're doing 300 people a night at least, if not 4. Like,
yeah, there's no way you can like, most farmers markets don't even, you know, have enough quantity at their tents for you to be able to source for your restaurant.
Well, and that's what, you know, I think the interesting conundrum you come across is like, you know, when I talk to my chefs about meeting, like when we have our menu meetings, right? You know, one of the things we talk about is we go through kind of the list of seasonal produce coming in. We'll be like, okay, this time of year, like all the squash are coming, going through all the squash. And so when we're looking at those squash, like the questions I always tell them to ask the farmers is, and I think it's like, as a chef, it's like knowing what questions to ask sometimes, right? Early on, I would just like put stuff on a menu. And then a week later, they'd be like, yeah, I don't have any more of that. And I'm like, well, no, I thought it was the season. They're like, yeah, but this week I don't have any.
Yeah.
And so like getting better at asking the questions of like, well, how long will you have this?
Yeah.
When do we get this till? How much of this will you be able to get me? And I feel like with vegetables, it's much easier, right? Because like they're growing those way more abundantly. I think the really tricky part when it comes to restaurants is more like meat. Because if you want to do, you know, I work with a great pig farmer in downstate Illinois, but like for certain things, like we do, you know, baby back pork ribs at Rosemary, there's no way, even if he gave me every single rack of ribs that came off his farm, which is a big farm, that he could support my restaurant.
Right. And that's the question of sourcing. And that was, like you said, we talked about with Dan Barber on episode 19. And people are really interested in this because you can source, like you said, if you're doing small quantity, you can source from farmers markets. And I when I go to the farmers markets Wednesday, Friday morning, I see chefs from certain restaurants. But interestingly enough, it's restaurants that have limited seating. They're very fine dining. They're very, you know, limited seating, reservations only, high price point, and they need a couple slices of this on a plate, a couple slices of that. So they can source a lot of those special ingredients from a farmer's market. But when you get into larger restaurants, like even at, you know, Red Rooster, Le Bernardin, when I was working there, there are some things like that you have to get from a distributor. In New York, the big distributor is Baldor. You know, you're getting certain things like lettuce mix here and there if the
Sure.
farmers don't have it, or you're getting, because you need to get a kilo of chives every single day.
Right. And there's not a farmer
No.
that I've
Who
ever
can,
met who's
right.
like, I can get you 20 pounds of chives a week. And I don't know why that is. I can't explain that. And I always, it's always one of those things. I feel like when I talk to distributors and like, what can I do to get your business? I'm like, give me really nice herbs.
Yeah.
Not like micros. I'm like big herbs. Like,
Yeah.
I want really nice basil, really nice mint, really nice chives, really nice
Mhm.
parsley, cilantro, whatever.
Yep. And chives cannot be limp. Like, you're not going to get a nice, beautiful slice of chive if they're already coming in bruised and bent. And
Right.
that's something that you can't guarantee at farmers markets. So herbs, that's actually one of the biggest things that comes through distributors. But for sourcing, how do you, because you're opening your 4th restaurant now. How do you walk that line between what to order from a large distributor and what to source from smaller farmers?
Yeah. So I think it's knowing, like, I think whenever we see something and we know, like, the same guy who does my pork also does my eggs. And eggs he can keep up. So I'd probably buy 50 cases of eggs from this guy a week.
Whoa.
Like, and, we're
Does that
talking.
mostly go to pasta production or?
Yeah.
Wow.
Most of it does. It's in, gelato, but most of it is pasta production. So we go through a ton of eggs.
Quick question.
Yeah,
Are
you don't have to
whole
raise your
egg?
hand. We're just doing a podcast.
Are you whole egg in your pasta, or is it mostly yolk? What's the pasta breakdown there?
So for most of the pastas, it's mostly yolk.
Okay.
There's some where I change it up. It depends on what I'm trying to do with the pasta. You know what I mean? Like, we do a little bit of whole egg in some of them to give it a little bit more chew.
Okay.
And then like this time of year, we're doing brown butter and like white truffle pastas. For those ones, those are always only egg yolk for me because I want it to be super delicate. I want it to be super soft, like super luxe. Like when I'm making, like with my grandma's pasta, we do whole egg.
Okay.
And it's got like a lot more chew to it. You know what I mean? It's more of like a rustic style. So if I'm looking for a more rustic style of pasta, I do a whole egg dough. If I'm looking for something that's a little bit more elegant, then I'm going all egg yolks.
Okay.
The whole egg for me is kind of the more rustic style. And there's people who have way more opinions on this than myself, but that's always how kind of I look at it. But so like, we know we can keep up on the eggs. So like, we can support him in that. When we're doing pork shoulders, we know he can keep up on pork shoulders, so we use him for that, And then like for vegetables, like it's a lot easier. You know what I mean? As long as they're seasonal, like, we have a couple great farms that they can keep up with whatever we do.
Nice.
So it's always trying to maximize those things we can get from them. If they have it, we're always going to go with them first. The trickier one is when it comes to meat, because those farms, it's just there's certain things they can't keep up with. So then it's working with your bigger purveyors who deal specifically, most of them deal specifically in meat, right?
Right.
And I think it's sourcing the right big purveyors who work with the right farms, because a lot of them now, the better ones they work with kind of like I don't know the right word for it, like a consortium.
Yeah,
That's
or
word?
like a cooperative.
Yeah, like a co-op of farms.
Yeah.
But they all say they all have to do it this way, right? They all have to be, whatever.
Right.
Non-GMO,
They set the standard.
Or whatever it is. And some of them, some people like, I'm not a big grass-fed guy. I don't like it. I don't know if it's just the Midwest in me or what, but like it's like the grass-fed to me is too livery when it's just straight grass.
Okay.
And I know some people really like that, but for me, that's not it. So it's like, I like a mix of like, corn and grass.
Okay.
So then like talking to purveyors and being like, okay, like asking the right questions. And I think if you ask the right questions and talk to them about how they're sourcing their stuff and making sure they're working with the right people, you're still getting the same quality. You're still supporting great farmers. It's just, you have to figure out how to do it at scale. And I think, it's finding which of those bigger purveyors align with you.
Yeah.
And what you're trying to do.
And I think they've gotten so much better at that. When I was younger, my mom worked for Kraft and she sold food to restaurants for Kraft. And so everything there, obviously, it's coming from industrial animal farms. It's not coming from people where there's a cooperative and they're setting the standard. It's like the cheapest feed you can get, pack them in as many as you can. And she would do these tours of a pig farm, a chicken farm, and she would come back horrified And she's
Right.
like, oh, no, no, no. We're going to a farmer's market and we're buying our meat there. And she kind of, opened my eyes to that at a very young age. It was actually a turkey farm that was the only place that she literally ever had to step away and throw up. But it was surprising to learn about that when I was 12, 13 years old. And so I try to be intentional about sourcing meat. And I'm so glad that as I started working professionally in restaurants and was sourcing, there were purveyors and distributors that even if they're a bigger distributor, they have that network of farms that are doing things with a certain standard that is very well defined. And they're checking on them. They're making sure that they're not using, bone meal and all this other stuff to just bulk up the feed with.
Right. And I think, what's interesting is like the guy, who I work with for my pig Slagle, like, they came about because like his dad was a commercial pig farmer and they were just selling it to giant, they were selling it to Swift. They were selling it to, whoever. And when he went to college, he realized like the way they were raising pigs is not the way everybody else was raising pigs. You know what I mean? That they were raising them, like in more open air. They weren't, they were non-GMO. They were doing all these things that they had just been doing because like that's how his family had been doing it for 100 years. That's how they did it in, the old country. And so like that's, how his great grandpa did it. So that's how his grandpa did it. That's how his dad did it. And then realized like their pork was much nicer than the rest of the commodity pork that was being sold. Because they were like, oh, we have a specific heritage of pigs we use. You know what I mean? We're using a mix of Duroc and Berkshire. Right.
Ooh,
and we're always using this mix and we always have been for the whole time. Wow. And that other places aren't doing this. And so this guy literally just started knocking on like chef's doors in Chicago.
Wow.
It was like, I have this great product and I don't want to sell it to commodity pork anymore to get lumped in with all this other like stuff that's not it. And so I think more and more those little farms have gotten recognized. I remember reading an article one time talking about how the guy who's like the corporate chef at McDonald's, and they were like, this is actually the most influential chef in the world.
Wow, that's so true. Like, oh my gosh.
And they were like, you might not know his name, you might not know who he is, but he was talking about they were going to put a shrimp salad on the menu at one point. And then like looking at how much shrimp they had to buy, he's like, we would deplete this shrimp within 2 months.
Oh my gosh.
Like the world supply of it. And it's like
good for him.
What? And I'm not like,
gosh,
listen, trust me, I'm not like being like, oh yeah, McDonald's is doing it right. Like they're really great guys or anything.
But at least he had the wherewithal and like the moral compass to say, no, we're not doing this.
Well, at least it's a conversation now. At least it's a conversation. And so I think, now it's like with the purveyors, like, as chefs, we're demanding a lot more transparency from them.
Yeah. And customers are not going to spend people have a threshold and you don't push them to that limit. So you do have to like find stuff that's reasonably priced.
Right. Like when I was at 𝗵𝗲𝗄, it's like, whatever, you know what I mean? Like you could charge for it. You're in a fine dining restaurant. You're in a Michelin star restaurant. You know what I mean? You just get the best, order the best. And then it's like, you just charge whatever it is. But I think working in more approachable restaurants, like you have to make choices of like, sometimes you just can't use stuff. And I think that's where, it's like we go with it now where it's like, okay, well, if that's what this is right now, we just can't do it. Like when we opened, lamb was crazy. Like I don't know why, but like lamb specifically was just like through the roof. So the only thing that we could put on a menu that was like reasonable was like, we have to get whole lamb shoulders. We need to butcher them, braise them, cut them, and do it like that. They're like, because anything else, I was like, we're going to have to charge $100 for.
Damn.
And it was just like, it just doesn't make sense on the menu.
And that's a very hard decision, though, to say we just have to leave it off. Because another chef would say, I'm going to compromise my standards so that I can keep this thing on the menu, as opposed to saying, you know what, it's just not for us right now.
I'll get a text from one of my farmers and they'll say, hey, I have this. And, a lot of times it'll be a whole pig. I'll be like, hey, I have a whole pig. Somebody was supposed to take it. They can't take it. Can you take a 120-pound whole pig? I'm like, sure. And it drives my chefs nuts because like I always forget to tell them. And then like all of a sudden like there's a whole pig in the walk-in and they're like, You know, they're like, chef, like, you know what I mean? Like, they're like, did you
Guess we
order
gotta
a pig?
break this.
Like, did you order a pig? I'm like, oh shit, yeah.
Porchetta special.
Did I not tell you guys that I ordered a pig? Yeah, there's a pig in the walk-in. Thanks so much. Love you. Goodbye. So I think it's really important to understand that relationship is not just getting what you need from them, but also trying to help them sell what they need to sell. And us as chefs then taking that and saying, I can make something awesome with this. And I think, you know, one of the biggest, hardest lessons I've had to learn is like, you know, being a chef and a leader is like, also like, if I'm willing to show the honesty and the vulnerability to say, you know what, I'm not sure. It was Sam Cass who said, you know, the most brilliant people have been around have been the most curious.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, I haven't stopped thinking about that since he said it, and been like, you know, told myself kind of like, be more curious. Like, you need to ask more questions.
Yeah.
And so I think like as chefs, sometimes though, like we're afraid to ask those questions because we're afraid to show that vulnerability of like, we don't know the answer.
Right.
And we
when
feel
I was
like
younger,
we should know all the answers, especially
like,
when we're young in that position.
Yeah, I was so insecure, and I'm like, oh, I know everything. You know, it's like you bluster, you put on that front, and then you're hiding the insecurity about the fact that you don't know stuff. And then one day I grew up, and I was like, the only thing I know now is that I don't know shit. Like literally, like I'm like, and I love that. It's so exciting to learn and experience new things, but you have to be open to it by first admitting that you don't know everything. And
right. And I remember like sitting
at
dinners and, you know, somebody talking about something, you know, with chefs and being like, yeah. And then going home from that dinner and being like, you know, like after pretending I knew what everyone was talking about for 3 hours, like Googling the word they were all talking about that I like could barely fucking spell. And I'm like, oh, fuck, that's what that is. Yeah. Okay. Right.
Now I'm like, oh, wait, can somebody back up some info on that for me?
Now I'm like, just like, totally it doesn't matter who says it. I'm like, okay. They're like, oh yeah, we made this. And I'm like,
what's that?
I'm like, I don't know what that is. I've never made that. You know what I mean? I can say that out loud, and that's harder to do than I think we realize, of just saying like, oh, I don't know what that is, or I've never made that.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's what they write. It's like, it's okay.
Yeah.
You can't have made everything.
Right.
You can't know everything. And you're not going to know more if you don't ask questions. You're just going to be the big dumb idiot you've always been.
Exactly. And that applies to, I feel like, every industry, every person in every field. You have to stay curious. You have to stay interested. You have to continually be a student of your craft and acknowledge that at no point in your career will you know everything. I think it's time we go to the walk-in and have a confessional.
Oh, hell yeah. I'll get the door for you. I'll get the door for you, Age. Crack a couple of cold ones and tell me what you got.
This was a time that young Adrienne, I don't know if I was even a junior sous chef yet or saucier, but I was at Le Bernardin. So in honor of my dear padrone, Chef Eric Ripert, I will tell this story that nobody knows. So it was holidays season, mid-2000s. Chef Ripert was having a dinner party for the holidays at his home with 6 or 8 people. And it was going to be, 5 or 6 courses plus dessert and some mignardises. So he wanted one chef from Le Bernardin to come to work with him at his house so he could also enjoy his time with his guests. So I got scheduled that day to go to Chef Ripert's house, pack up all of the mise en place, all of the ingredients from Le Bernardin, pack the coolers, bring everything to Chef Ripert's house. So I'm essentially cooking Chef Ripert dinner in his own home for his
This is the
family
offsite
and
of
friends.
offsites here.
Right. And it was so exciting that I got selected for that. So I was like nervous. And then it's like, okay, well, all this mise en place in Manhattan, it's like, take the van, the Le Bernardin minivan that we had, that I didn't even know we had up until that point, to be honest. So I pack up the van, drive to his place, park, unload all of the stuff, set up in his apartment. Dinner goes great. There's cheese courses after, because, we're very French. So there's cheese, there's, bread baskets. It was a great event. And he was like, Adrienne, thank you. This went so well. I'll have my son or somebody help you pack up and load up the car, and then you can head back to the restaurant. Great. Thanks, chef. So glad it went well. I'm flying high, right? I'm thinking this is like the best way to get in my boss's good graces.
Oh, yeah.
So shortly thereafter, I'm driving back to 𝗵𝗲𝗵𝗀. But the part of the story I left out, as they asked me if I could do this dinner at Chef Repair's house and take the van, Chef said, "Oh, you have a license, right?" Yeah, you know how to drive. Yeah, I have a license, which I did. I had just transferred my license from Florida to New York.
Right.
But I had
Florida licenses aren't real, actually, right? It's just like
Florida's
a picture of an alligator.
I had a license technically, but I had been in New York at that point for a while. I had not driven a car in probably 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
So yes, I had a license.
And you had never driven in New York before.
No, I hadn't.
Oh my God.
I had not, except for when I first moved there. My best friend drove me over, 𝗵𝗲𝗵𝗲 from Chicago, and we drove into New York, and that was it. And then she went back to Chicago. So no, I had never driven in New York. I hadn't driven a car, period, in 10 years. So I leave. Everything was fine on the way there during the day. But I'm going back at night. It's misty outside. It's dark
misty
as hell.
outside. Listen to these excuses. Just line it up. It's misty outside? Girl, you're from Chicago. It's misty outside. Don't give me that. You're not from LA.
I'm making this turn to go around Central Park, and the lights were really confusing. This intersection doesn't even operate anymore. I think that's how many accidents happen at this intersection. So
especially
I see the
with
light,
the mist rolling in.
I think it's misty, you know. So I see the light turn green. So I go to make my left turn onto the street that's one way going in that direction. And apparently there was a turn arrow that I did not see that was not green. So traffic is coming from my right, and I'm making this left-hand turn. There was a taxi and another car that like swerved to miss me. One of them had to hop up on the grass on the street on the side of Central Park. And I like immediately pull over. I'm shaking. I'm like, this is my boss's car. This isn't even my car. And I'm just like, I paid everybody straight cash. Can I tell you? I did not report it. I stayed for the police and all that. And then I talked to the two drivers of the cars. One had no damage. The other guy had like sideswiped a tree when he went up into the grass. I was like, look, let's keep this between us. You know, here's my personal information. Please do not call, you know, the insurance that I have provided to the police.
You give him your sister's name and number?
No, I did not want that smoke. I gave my info. I got in touch with, you know, an auto body shop. He went there and I paid for it out of pocket.
Damn.
A broke ass,
all
like,
cash, everything. You're like, I am not going to pay my rent this month before I get fired from LA.
No, I think I was late on my rent that month, but it was totally worth it to not get fired.
Well, I mean, you're basically driving through a Stephen King novel, the way you described it, the mist falling upon you. I mean, what could you have done?
I mean, exactly, you know. But the dinner went great.
And you've never told Repair that story?
Hell no. Hell no.
That's
I never told anybody that story.
You should send him a Venmo request for the
I think I came out of pocket for like $600 or $800 actually.
Oof. As a line cook?
As a line cook, right. Yeah. When I tell you I was late on rent.
In that era, dude, that's like a month's wait.
Yeah. I had finally graduated from $7.25 an hour. I think I was at like 9 or 10 something an hour. I could not afford that. I worked so much that I wasn't spending money. So at least I had the cash on hand. I was a little short on rent.
That's what we all told ourselves of those days, where it was just like, well, at least like I don't have any time to spend any money. So that's like the nice thing about this job. But it's like, that's not how this is supposed to work.
They're like, you don't make any money. But I'm like, I have money in the bank because I don't spend any because I'm always at work.
Yeah. You're like, staff meals free.
I eat every day. Have coffee. Yeah. What else do I need?
Yeah, what else do I need?
My uniforms.
I'm not lonely. You're lonely.
I get a shift beer a couple times a week. I don't even need to pay for alcohol.
Yeah, you're like, I'm living high on the hog over here.
Right.
I own one
And
pair
laundry,
of pants,
what's
so
that?
it's
I wear
fine.
the same pair of jeans and
Dude, that's
t-shirt
it.
to and from work every day, change into uniform and go home.
That's incredible. I love that. I hope Chef Eric hears this.
I need to
And,
text
you know,
him before this one comes out.
yeah.
Because he does listen. I need to give him a heads up.
I hope he calls you into the office and yells at you for this. I'll be home. I'm so disappointed
I hope
in you.
not. Still
You know,
scared of that man.
You're like, how am I getting written up? I don't work here. He's
Right,
like,
right. You're like, remember that time you burned the foie fat? Now this?
yeah,
You're
now
fired.
this. Yeah, there's just 2 strikes.
Oh, man. Well, Joe, thank you so much. This has been a blast today.
Age, always a blast. Great to talk to you. Be careful in that mist out there. All right. The New York streets are unforgiving.
That is it for this episode of The Chef's Cut. Be sure to subscribe wherever you're listening, especially if you're watching us on YouTube, where you can find full-length video episodes of the show every week. And follow us at The Chef's Cut Pod on IG. For Joe Flam, I'm Adrienne Cheatham, and this has been The Chef's Cut, Life Beyond the Pass.